Hello, Bruce here, and welcome to our online lecture series for Film 3000 Cinematic Transformations. I hope everyone found our discussion of subject last week to be engaging, because this week we'll be moving on to a discussion of digital technology and visual effects and the impact they had on the Hollywood aesthetic. I want to center this week's discussion on the second film in the Lucas prequel trilogy, Attack of the Clones, which I think could be the most radical presentation of new images found in a big-budget Hollywood film. Today, we will be completely reimagining Attack of the Clones' negative critical response and move towards a more radical understanding of the film's aesthetic potentiality, as posited by Reindorf in the potentiality in the digital image and the aesthetic of the Star Wars prequel trilogy. Firstly, let's talk about how Attack of the Clones radically expands cinema's ability to portray perceptually believable fantasy worlds. To understand this, we need to unpack Reindorf's notion of impossibility, which he describes as when the image is no longer based on something that was captured in the real world, it can be created completely from scratch. This lifts restrictions off the filmmakers, allowing a fuller expression of their imaginative vision. To see this in action, watch carefully the scene in which Obi-Wan and alien Dexter Jettster first hug. Reindorf describes this moment as a literal embrace between the live-action and animated world, representing a moment in which two can coexist on screen. Having the virtual world interacting and reacting to the physical world gives the digital character a physical and tangible quality, which makes him seem more believable. This is an example of how the restrictions that Hollywood puts on its impossible images creates a legible fantasy, which has manifested into greater potential to articulate seamless fantasy worlds. Secondly, let's discuss how the prequels radically liberated the Hollywood camera. As Reindorf discusses, the new virtual regime of movement imparted by new technology is felt throughout the cinematography of the film. Throughout Attack of the Clones, the camera acts as a detached object, moving weightlessly through the space. For instance, watch this scene during the climax in which our characters ride the Reek. Look how the camera feels like it is floating above them as it sways and bobs in midair before being suddenly jerked through the air. The camera movement feels awkward in its removal of reality because it lacks attachment to anything physical, making its movement a purely impossible image. This movement is indicative of how radically Lucas detached the camera from any physical grounding in his prequel trilogy. This is a kind of shot that can come about through the digital camera's interaction with a virtual space. It does not occur in the analog cinematography of the originals, or even in The Phantom Menace, in which there is still the use of a celluloid camera. So while the actual cameras had not reached the level of maneuverability in which they are today, the prequels did lay the foundation for their current potential. Now, thank you for attending this lecture this week. And remember, the essays are due just before the midsummer break. So everyone get cracking and good luck. See you next week.